so much for joining me on Being Indispensable. My name's Liz Van Vliet. We're all dispensable. I know that better than anyone. I'm a breast cancer survivor. But that doesn't mean that we can't invest in ourselves to improve the skills and capabilities that are going to help us stand out and be perceived as indispensable. Being indispensable is also about the being side of the equation. Because if we're not looking after ourselves and our own well-being, then we have no hope of showing up as indispensable in the workplace. Hello, lovely listeners. This is Liz bringing you a true road ramble, and guess where I am? I am currently walking down a country lane in Suffolk, in the UK, in England. Yes, if you've been following me on Instagram, you will know that I have jetted off on what I call my Festival of 50. So, pretty self-explanatory. I turned 50 this year in May 10th to be precise. And if you've been listening to this podcast or gone back to listen to the original foundation episodes, as I shall call them, you will know that I had breast cancer. And before I had breast cancer, when I discovered my lump, I was literally less than a month from going overseas on a lovely, what was to be a lovely overseas trip with my 3 daughters, who I call the cats, Kate, Abby and Tessa. And at that stage, they were in just the middle of year 7, year 5 for Miss Abby, and Tessa, the baby, was in Australia, in different parts of the country, but in New South Wales we call it kindy. I think in the UK you call it reception, possibly, and I really don't know what you call it in the US or other parts of the world. Anyway, first proper year of school. So they were still quite little, just starting our teen journey with Miss Kate. Anyway, I had, thrown caution to the wind and decided we were going to head off on this trip over to the UK and France, mainly France. We were going to do a bit in the UK because I have a family, lovely family, one of whom lives here in Suffolk, my brother. And anyway, that famous day where I got up, went to make myself a cup of coffee and felt under my armpit, went for a bit of a scratch of the old armpit and felt, sort of as my hand glanced back, I discovered the lump. So by the end of that week, when I'd been sort of given the bad news, as if it wasn't bad enough to be diagnosed with breast cancer, I was also told that there was absolutely no way that I could delay treatment by going off on my overseas trip, which was to be about 6 weeks, because my prognosis would be much, much worse if I waited, because I had an invasive, rather aggressive tumour. So, holiday had to be cancelled. Very sad for all concerned. Devastating, in fact. But we did it. Got on with our, getting onto treatment highway, as I call it. And subsequently, we spent a lot of money on getting my treatment done through the private health system in Australia, and overseas trips were not something that then was going to be an option. So sadly, although we've done other trips, and I actually had a trip over here 2 years ago on my own, you know, it was, we've never recreated that family experience, even though I have to say my husband was not coming on that trip, that original trip. He was staying home. Not because I don't love him, let me just put that out there for the record. Anyway, basically, turning 50 has been special because I actually didn't believe for quite a long period of time that I would actually make it to 50. I thought that if the cancer didn't get me, the repercussions of it would, and that I was, you know, my family would be better off if I hadn't survived. Go back and listen to some episodes, it's pretty grim. But anyway, we are good now, as you can tell. But the celebrating 50 is not just about celebrating that milestone. It's also about celebrating, you know, where I am at this moment in time. And so I was absolutely delighted to be able to organise this trip that I'm calling the Festival of 50. And it was mainly driven by the fact that my daughter Kate, who when I started my treatment was in year 7, finished high school last year, and she's actually come over to the UK this year doing a gap year. She's what's called a gappie, working at an English prep school. Don't mind me as I walk off, you'll hear a car going past English country lanes with old people who almost ran me over. Anyway, that's a highlight for you. Where was I? Right, so she's over here on a gap year, working as a gappie at a school not far from Birmingham, or well, on the way to Birmingham, actually close. It's called Aberley Hall. So if you're a local, shout out to Aberley Hall. It's a lovely little prep school up near Worcester. So she's now on her summer break, and so I organised to come over and see her and have a little holiday, spending time with family and going on a couple of little side trips. So as I speak to you now, as I ramble down the road, almost being taken out by an elderly Suffolk driver on a country lane, she has just departed yesterday for a Europe bus tour, a bus about sort of tour. So we had more tears because, you know, I've only just got back together and now she's gone off for a month. But while she's away, the cat will play, and I am now resting and relaxing in the beautiful Suffolk countryside, and I'm going to be heading to a few other destinations which I will recount to you in further road rambling episodes, because while I'm away you will have the pleasure of my dulcet tones, but probably more being episodes than indispensable skills episodes. If I get my act together, I will do some helpful indispensable skills episodes, but this is all about me. It's all about me. How selfish is that? Anyway, just wanted to check in, let you know what I was up to, tell you how lovely it is to be celebrating my Festival of 50 and to have you possibly somewhere out there listening in and hearing what I'm up to. So I hope you're all well, and I will check in another time. See you later. Thanks for listening to today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see the show notes, head over to my website. It would be great if you haven't already done so. If you enjoyed the show, if you could kindly go to iTunes and leave a review. It helps other people find the show. Thanks for listening and have a great week.